First competition? Congratulations. It's going to be lots of fun. A good start is an important part of your race, but there are some rules you need to follow. Don't worry, we'll walk you through the start process so you know what to do. Before you get on the ice, do a good warm-up. Your coach can give you lots of warm-up exercises. Do the warm-up with friends and teammates. It's fun. A good warm-up will make sure you have the best race possible and reduce the chance for injuries. Make sure you have all your equipment on. If you're missing equipment, you won't be allowed to race. Before your race, see the clerk of the course. They are the nice people who hand out the helmet covers and make sure you're in the correct race. Be on time. A race waits for no one. So if you're late for your race, you may miss your opportunity to skate. Now that you're on the ice, what do? Skate to the blue line located behind the starting area. Line up in the proper order. Wait, what order do I line up in? It's easy. Line up with position 1 or helmet cover 1 closest to the inside of the racing track. Just like this. Here's what happens if there are 6 skaters. What if there are 7 skaters? Let's make things crazy. How about 8 skaters? Now you're getting the hang of it. What do you do once you're all lined up behind the blue line? Relax and wait for the starter to tell you what to do next. Wait, who or what is a starter? The starter is a speed skating official that oversees the start of the race. The starter will issue the start commands using a microphone. Pay attention and listen to them carefully. The starter wants to make sure that everyone gets a fair and equal start. The starter will be located off ice, ahead of the start line. There they are. The first command the starter will say is,
Go to the start.
when you hear,
Go to the start.
move forward to the start line. At the start line, you will notice 5 small dots on the ice. Line up in front of your dot. But what if there are 6 skaters on the line? Easy. The skater in position 1 will stay in front of their dot, and the 5 other skaters will spread out evenly between position number 1 and the mats. But I'm not in front of a dot. It's okay. Not in front of a dot? No problem. Here's what happens with 7 skaters on the line. And here's what happens with 8 skaters on the line. Sometimes a skater may miss their race. Here's what happens. Let's say skater in position 3 does not show up for their race. The skater in position 4 takes the number 3 position, And a skater in position 5 takes the number 4 position. If a skater is missing, you always fill in the extra space. Never leave a space between skaters when someone is missing from the race. Once you are lined up behind the start line, find a stable, upright position. Make sure both of your skates are behind the start line. Take a deep breath, relax, stay upright, and wait for the starter to give you the next command. Remember, work with your coach to find the best start position for you. After all skaters are at the start line, are stable and upright, and are prepared to start the race, the starter will say,
Ready.
When you hear the ready command, skaters are to go down into their ready position. Remember, keep your skates behind the start line. Your blade cannot touch or cross the start line after the ready command is issued. Once in your ready position, you must stay completely still until you hear the bang or the beep. Once you hear the bang or beep signal, the race has started and it's time to skate fast, turn left, false start. If a skater does not follow all the rules at the start, the starter may assign a false start. False starts can happen to anyone, so don't panic. When there is a false start, the starter will blow their whistle, or you may hear multiple bangs or beeps, just like that. When there is a false start, stop racing. Go back to the blue line, line up in order, and listen carefully to the starter. The starter will say the lane or position that false started. They may also provide a reason for the false start. There are a number of reasons for a false start. A skater's blade touches or crosses the start line after the ready command is issued. A skater places one or both hands on the ice after the ready command is issued. A skater does not have both skates on the ice. The blade must have full contact with the ice over the length of the blade. A skater takes their start position before the ready command. A skater takes too long to get into their starting position after the ready command is issued. A skater moves off the start line after the ready command is issued, but before the start signal. A skater was not stable or is not holding still when in their final starting position. There was a false start in my race. What happens next? That will actually depend on the meet circuit that you're racing in. The regional and provincial circuit meets will follow the modified false start rule, also referred to as the development or adapted false start rule. The elite circuit meets, on the other hand, will follow the zero false start rule. So what does all this mean? We'll find out a little bit more in the following slides. On the next few slides, we're going to talk about the modified false start rule. So under the modified false start rule, any given skater is permitted to have one false start. So this means that after the first false start, everyone gets one more chance to start the race. The first false start in a race will result in the skater assigned the false start to move roughly 2 meters back and to the outside lane from the other skaters. Does this sound a little bit confusing? Don't worry. Let's show a couple of examples and you'll see that it's not that complicated. Let's look at a scenario with 8 skaters and position number 2 is assigned a false start. So in this scenario, you will see that the skater who was assigned the false start had to move 2 meters back from the other skaters and to the furthest outside position. All the other skaters must move over and fill the gap that's left behind by the skater that was assigned the false start. Now let's look at a scenario where we have 5 skaters on the line. Again, position number 2 is assigned a false start. This scenario is the same as the last example. Again, it's important to note that the skater that was assigned the false start must position themselves behind the outermost position of the remaining skaters. And as always, the other skaters must move over to fill the gap that's left behind by the skater that was assigned the false start. Here's what a typical false start sequence may sound like.
Position 3. False start. Wrong blade position. This race has 1 false start. Go to the start. Ready.
Now skate fast and turn left. In this example, the starter said wrong blade position as the reason for the false start. This is just a fancy way of saying that your skate touched or crossed the start line. So if you hear this command from the starter, you'll know why. You may be wondering what happens if there's a second false start in my race. If there has already been 1 false start in your race, no further false starts are permitted. In the case of a second false start by any of the skaters, the starter will assign a penalty to the skater with the second false start. The skater may then be asked to leave the ice. 0 false start rule. So the 0 false start rule was recently adopted at the international level by the ISU and in Canada for more advanced national level meets. So the 0 false start rule will apply to those skating in the elite circuit meets this year. So under this rule, no false starts are permitted, and the first and any subsequent false starts in any given race will result in a penalty, and that skater may then be asked to leave the ice. Delaying the start. It's important to note that the starter may assign a false start if a skater causes a delay to the start of a race. This could happen if the skater is late to the heat box, does not have all their equipment when they get on the ice, or takes too long to come to the starting area after the starter blows their whistle. In this case, the false start is only against the skater who is responsible for delaying the start of the race and does not affect the other skaters on the start line. Here are 2 scenarios you should be aware of when racing in a meet where the modified false start rule applies. Scenario 1. If a skater who already received a false start for delaying the start of a race were to then false start in their race, they would receive a penalty and may be asked to leave the ice. Scenario 2. If there was already 1 false start in a race, regardless of which skater received the false start, a skater who then receives a false start for delaying the start would be assigned a penalty and may be asked to leave the ice. In the elite circuit meets where the 0 false start rule applies, a skater who is assigned a false start for delaying the start would automatically receive a penalty and may be asked to leave the ice. Here are some other things you need to know. Depending on the type of race, there may be more than 1 start line. The start line for your race will be marked by a small cone located on the inside of the track. Here is something else to know. There may be situations where the start of a race is delayed. Although there are many reasons why this may happen, a common one is an ice repair. Depending on the length of the delay, the starter may inform the skaters that they can leave the start area to skate around the middle of the track in order to stay warm. The starter will blow their whistle to call the skaters back to the start area when the delay is over and the race can start. Now that you know more about starting the race, have fun.